this is Jonathan Shrager, your favourite hairy red analyst on Stretty News TV. I've also written for United blogs, including Republica Mancunia and United Rant, and also United fanzines, including United We Stand and Red News. Dale and Serge, the lads over at Stretty News, asked if I'd do a small review on the Arsenal game, views from a sober sofa. Admittedly, I was live blogging the game for Republica Mancunia last night, which sometimes renders it quite difficult to discern the kind of nuances of the game, with you constantly jotting down what's taking place. However, I did have a few observations. As most Reds noted last night, it was a fairly onerous affair. There wasn't the backlash that some of us had anticipated and feared from Arsenal following their drubbing at Liverpool. I predicted it to be a tight and evenly poised match, but it did turn out to be a massively subdued and anodyne affair. Sort of a stark contrast, really, to the same fixture of previous seasons, which have invariably proven fiercely contested and gripping games. The two sides were evidently lacking confidence, and they were sort of using an analogy. They were prodding at each other rather than banging the doors down as such. Nonetheless, given the present circumstances, I suppose the vast majority of us Reds would probably have settled for a draw prior to the game against the team that is challenging for a title. A couple of comments, I suppose, on Tom Cleverley. Obviously, he's been in the news this week. I'd like to preface my comments on Tom by clarifying that I'm not a Red that's prone to scapegoating players. I'd much rather be proven horribly wrong regarding any player in Red than have my doubts vindicated, really. I discussed these matters in some length on United Rant recently, if you'd care to read that over there. But I did spot sort of several Reds last night praising Tom's performance, and that's fair enough. I mean, he did okay. He had a decent, half decent game. He always puts a shift in, Tom. That's never in question. He does play for the shirt and he puts a shift in. So his work ethic and his commitment is not in dispute. But he still strikes me as a player that's low on confidence. And at times it is, he can go an entire match without offering anything of any genuine quality at times. And that's frustrating, really, from a central midfielder that plays for Manchester United. At times he sort of, maybe tries to compensate for his lack of quality by buzzing around aimlessly, I suppose, is the best way I can describe it. Sometimes I'll spot him, he'll belatedly flail his arms in a sort of gesture to try and request the ball. But as I say, it's belatedly, so either he's got a poor sense of timing, or he might even be, shirking responsibility, because there is a lot of pressure on him, and his confidence is low. So, it's semi-understandable, I suppose, for him to be nervous at times while he's playing, especially if he feels like he's being scapegoated and scrutinised constantly. I certainly wouldn't stretch to stating that he had a good performance last night, like I'd seen other Reds comment. If his display last night is deemed good, then I think we must have set the benchmark extremely low for him. And I think that whilst, we do all empathise with Tom, and we will him to succeed, but on the back of his recent interview in which he bemoans, and rightly so, that he's being unjustly scapegoated, there's the possibility that we might almost be inclined to make allowances for Tom, a sort of reverse scapegoating as such. Anyway, in terms of other promising displays last night, I felt Carrick did pretty well in the midfield, broke up play nicely on occasions. Vidic had a shaky start, and Giroud, it appeared as though Giroud might cause him some headaches throughout the evening. But thankfully, Vidic kind of composed himself and he did get to grips with the game, was fairly solid at the back, as I thought Smalling was. Cazorla turned the game into a bit of a one-man show at the end of the day. within the last 10 minutes of the game. But thankfully, ever reliable David De Gea salvaged us on a couple of occasions. Regarding Van Persie, I mean, obviously amidst rumours now that he's not particularly content at present. He did appear disconcertingly downbeat at times, and he lacked his usual sprightly swagger, which he possesses on a football field. I thought this was epitomised when in the second half at one point Valencia had played him through, and Robin's attempts to get to the ball ahead of Szczesny seemed a little bit half-hearted, which is a bit disconcerting as a red. But anyway, and obviously there was the fairy tale of him opening the scoring at the Emirates within a minute proved exactly that. It was a fairy tale, so it never transpired. However, whilst it was a solitary incident, it was encouraging to see Robin and Wayne linking up towards the end of that second half with that enthralling counter-attack, which nearly saw us nick the 3 points in the end. So let's hope that that instance there serves as a catalyst for a little bit more chemistry moving forward between the duo. That would be nice. I spotted a few criticising Mata online last night, which dumbfounds me really. Firstly, he's short on match fitness and sharpness. Secondly, he's primarily being played out of position. However, it is abundantly clear. It's abundantly clear that we have a top-class player at our disposal. He uses class on the ball, and I quite prefer the fact that he isn't the quickest player, because it enables us to marvel at his majesty in slow motion. We have got things to look forward to as Reds. Highly excited about the quartet of Adnan, Wayne, Robin, and Juan playing harmoniously together. They're yet to start as a quartet in unison. Hopefully they'll start within the next couple of games all together. Obviously Adnan's been rested a little now, so he should be fresh. Robin and Wayne starting to get pitch time following their injuries, and Juan will progressively come to the fore. I'm certain of that, because he genuinely looks like a top class footballer, and I foresee these four beginning to click to devastating effect within the next maybe half a dozen games, hopefully. To conclude, I'd say given the current context, I sympathise with Moyes' tactics last night. He diverted away from the relentless crossing game for which he was chastised versus Fulham, with United instead endeavouring to exploit some central areas during our intermittent instances of attacking play. There was the occasional promising passage of interchange in play, which was reminiscent of United sides of yore. We can hopefully build on the result and enhance the overall displays. I think it's fair to say that even the most blinkered of Reds would concede that fourth was but a distant dream even before the Arsenal game. So the focus now must be on showing patent signs of improvement and an upturn in form, which will be manifested by at least pushing for the fourth spot. And of course, we can still qualify by winning the Champions League outright. If you cannot tell on camera, my tongue is firmly lodged in my cheek. Anyway, 1 second. Oh, it's a text from David Moyes. He says, "Can you come to Carrington and help me do a little bit of crossing practice with Ashley Young?" Okay, so I better get off then. But if you've got any thoughts on my assessment here, indeed you'd like to share your own ideas on United's trip to the Emirates, please feel free to comment. And also please share this video and subscribe to Stretty News on YouTube. If you fancy, you can follow me on Twitter at Jonathan Shrager. Stay smiling, Reds.